of the lockdown in Hawaii, and things were looking pretty good. The numbers seemed like it was going down, but well, the numbers are back up. So I think yesterday we had like 181 cases. Um, we're now at 339 today. But they said that officials said that 90 of those cases were previously diagnosed earlier, um, but it was delayed because of something, which we never know, right? Nobody ever tells us like what these errors are and why the counts are kind of questionable. There's been a lot of questionable numbers. Like I remember one time there was, well, we always get the numbers like, oh, like one case on Kauai, but the person was not actually on Kauai. He was on the mainland. Um, so I don't know why that gets counted as a Kauai number because the guy's not physically like on Kauai. And I'm assuming by the time he comes back, he's no longer COVID positive, right? Or else they're not going to let him come back. Uh, but I don't know. I don't know why they, whatever the numbers are. Um, but anyway, I'm not sure if the audio here is working. I was having some issues yesterday with the audio. Apparently, like OBS, when it got updated, and it seems like the problem is only with OBS, and that's the software that I'm using to kind of compose this stream. Um, on the Mac, it was kind of like going in and out the audio, and I tested it. I tested the audio with some other programs on my Mac, and it seemed to record just fine. So it's just it's just with the Mac version of OBS. So what I did was I just transferred everything over to my PC, and so I'm streaming from my PC now. So anyway, hopefully that works. I don't know. I mean, if there's an issue, somebody let me know with audio. Anyway, so it was really difficult to kind of watch yesterday's stream just because the audio was so horrible. So I figured I'd just do like a quick recap of what happened. And so basically, yesterday I went to the H3 to get tested, right? That's part of the surge testing. And so we went, and it was kind of just a spur of the moment thing. We went down at around 1 o'clock, 1 p.m., and this is what it looked like. So, and it went really smooth. Um, so it took us like 5 minutes to get to the tunnel, and yeah, and there wasn't really much of a line.
So we just registered just before we got here. There wasn't any traffic on the H3. It took us about 5 minutes to get to the tunnel. And we're just waiting. They're going to print out our voucher. We didn't actually print it out. We just had it on our phone, so they're going to print it out. Uh, so far it's been about 25 minutes since we got on the H3. And we're waiting for the test.
Yeah, so sorry, we're in the tunnel, so the lighting is really poor, and I'm filming this with my iPhone. It's sitting on the dashboard, so yeah, it's really grainy. But I don't know. I thought the iPhone. I have the iPhone 11, the big one, and I think it takes pretty good video. If you guys are thinking about upgrading your iPhone, I would definitely look at the latest one. The one, and it's the really good thing about it is it has that wide angle lens. It has a wide angle lens and it has a 2x zoom lens, which is super cool. But yeah, the low light performance of the iPhone is really good. So anyway, so we pull in. You know, we had just picked up lunch and we registered as we were driving down. We didn't have our vouchers printed, so it was totally last minute that we decided to do this, just to kind of check it out. And so we were kind of prepared with food and everything for a wait. And luckily, we didn't really need to wait very long. So then we pull in, and then the National Guard guys are there registering us.
Okay, here you go. Here's an information sheet for you. Just leave it on the dashboard until you get down to the at the very end. Next side. They'll whip you in. Okay. And so after I'm done, just go into the left lane and drive all the way down. Yes. Okay. And then they'll walk you through the self-swabbing process, or the self-test process. Oh, so I don't do this here. That's what's in these kits. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I was kind of confused there. I thought that the test, once you stop, they'll give you the test and then they'll do it right then and there. The National Guard people will just register you, give you the test kit, and then you drive down to a different station where they actually perform the test. And so that's what we did. So we got the test, we pull out, we drive down, and then they have people on the road, so they're directing you. So then they say, okay, this spot's open. So I pull in, and I don't know if she was a nurse, but a lady comes in and walks us through the process.
So we're at the testing spot. Hello. Hello.
I don't know if you guys can hear her. I'm going to crank the volume up.
I need you to get your stick and your tube out of your back. I need you to verify on your tube that your full name and your full date of birth are correct. You could put your in there. Oh, you turned it right. We don't want to forget that. Is yours correct? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I need you to look at your stick. There's two important parts I need you to know. The white part that goes on your nose, and in the middle, the part that has an indentation, the breakaways. You see both of those?
It's dark in the tunnel. Wearing shades is
the tip right here.
makes it even darker.
Okay, yeah, right there.
Okay, now flip it over. There's a blue triangle. Okay, if you push it out like a pill out of a package, push. There you go. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to have you roll up your window, and I'm going to go to the front of the car, and I'm going to instruct you. You're going to lower your mask. You're going to put it in one side. I'll let you know if it's deep enough. If it is, we're going to twirl it twice and hold it for 15 seconds. Then we'll switch sides and do it again, okay? And then I'll come back over here and we'll go over the rest, okay?
Right.
Yeah, so basically they want you to roll up the windows. They don't want to contaminate the test because you're inside of a tunnel, right? There's all kinds of stuff swirling around out there. And then so she moves from the passenger side window to the front of the car, and she's looking at you through the front windshield, and then she'll kind of like give you the motions on what to do.
So the right side?
And I don't know if this is better doing it yourself than having somebody else doing it. I wasn't very confident that I was doing it correctly. Like I didn't really know how far I should shove it up there. It's kind of gross actually looking at the video.
Other side.
Probably should have shoved it up even further, but I don't know. She said it was okay. My eyes are tearing up at this point.
Oh.
And I probably shouldn't have sneezed into my hand
Okay, now you got to take the top
because
off your tube.
that
You're going to put the stick in
cap
the
is
can,
contaminated.
down. Don't spill the stuff that's in the tube.
Okay.
And you're going to break it at that point I showed you. You can use your thumb for leverage.
Probably the end of the stick is
Put
contaminated.
the lid back on your tube. Okay.
Should it just
Put your
snap
tube
off?
in your baggie.
Well, you can use your thumb for leverage.
Yeah, the stick is kind of flexible, so you kind of have to like work it back and forth for it to break off.
All right.
And now I'm contaminating the bag.
When you close it, try to get as much air out of it as possible.
Okay, and now I'm going to contaminate the entire bag, pushing all the air out.
Drop them in here. Okay. The results come in 3 to 5 days. It comes to the email that you used, okay? Turn your flashers or your hazards on when you're leaving so that we know you're done. And if you'll drive slowly, there's a lot of us out here walking around, okay?
All right.
Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay, you guys
Can
go.
we give this to you?
I don't have no word for rubbish.
Yeah,
I have
okay,
to take it home. I'm
No
sorry.
worries, no worries.
All right, no
It's
problem.
a souvenir. You have a wonderful day.
All right,
so
thank
much.
you. So we have the hazards turned on. That'll let them know that we're done with the test. And that was it. Oh,
Yeah, so that's pretty much it, you know. And then they have people like directing traffic, so it's pretty safe. You know, you turn on your hazard lights, and then you just drive out. And then you're done. So that's pretty much it. It didn't take very long, maybe 30 to 40 minutes. You know, like just waiting pretty much. And yeah, that was pretty much it. So that was the H3 surge testing that we did yesterday, and they're going to be open again tomorrow. And so basically, I kind of went over this yesterday, but basically, you just go to the doineedacovid19test.com, this website. You can register there. Click on Hawaii, and it shows you like the different places that you can go to get tested. You can click on H3 and it'll tell you like the times and stuff. But if you want to go somewhere closer to you, like in your neighborhood, you can check out these places. They're not going to be open every day. Like Mililani, where I live, the next one is on Friday. So if you want to stay in Mililani, you have to wait till Friday. But yeah, the H3 was pretty good. I saw some video, you know, of the morning crowd, and that was a lot more people. But at 1 p.m. there were it was pretty easy. There wasn't a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, I would recommend going to get tested. So let's see, 339 cases today. 302 were on Oahu, 35 on the Big Island, and 2 on Maui. They already counted 27 cases from the surge surveillance testing. So a couple of my friends went to they got tested maybe the day after they announced the surge testing, and they went to Mililani, and so they checked online and they already got the results back and they were negative. So that's pretty cool. You can get the responses online. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the number's gonna tell us. The surge testing, from what I understand, people who don't need to get tested are going to get tested, right? So the percentages, like normally, if you feel sick, you go in and get tested, right? And then the numbers, the percentage of positives to the number of people getting tested is high. So with the surge test, that percentage will go down. But hopefully we can, find more people who are positive and may not know it, and we get a more accurate count of what the actual percentage of the population that is infected is, right? So that's kind of what the whole point of the surge testing is. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, that's the number. I keep track of that every day, just to see like what's going on and why the numbers are confusing to me. So yesterday I talked about the contact, like the whole DOH thing with the people, Dr. Anderson getting, well, he's retiring. I'm not saying like he's being forced to retire, but he's retiring. And I think the public health director is also is retiring, right, of their own free will, right? So, so I was watching the news tonight, and it was like, whoa, okay, this is kind of a shocker. So you remember Dr. Sarah Park? She was in charge of the contact tracing at the Department of Health, and then like they didn't think she was doing a good job, so she got kind of like removed for that. I mean, she's doing other things there, so it lets her. They needed somebody who was dedicated to the contact tracing effort. So anyway, so they pick up this person, right? This Dr. Emily Robertson, and she's in charge of the contact tracing. Well, she's taking an indefinite leave of absence right now. So I mean, that does not give me a lot of confidence in the Department of Health, in how it's being run. And I don't know, like, if it's a political issue. I don't know if it's just the people that they have there. I mean, in the news story, they made it seem like Dr. Park was kind of interfering with the contact tracing, but I think it was more than that. But I mean, it's got to be pretty bad. Like you just got hired, right? She, like this Dr. Robertson, she just got hired, and I mean, it's got to be pretty bad for her to say, oh, I had enough. I can't do my job. I'm going to take a leave of absence. And she's in charge of the contact tracing program. So I don't know what's going on down there, but that's pretty concerning. I'm concerned about that. And I don't want to get into the whole, like, my thoughts of contact tracing, because it's probably upset a lot of people. But whatever the case is, we have this effort, right? We have this. They hired like 100 people, and they're trying to get more people. And they set up a contact tracing place at the convention center, and so, like, what's going on? Like, why would the head of the contact tracing program just decide to take a leave of absence? So I can see, like, okay, with Dr. Anderson leaving, it's kind of like, like in football, right? Like, people go to pick a college. A lot of it is due to the coach, right? They're promised certain things, and they pick the team because of the coach, and then the coach leaves like the next year. So I don't know if that's kind of part of it. It's just, like, there's just so much changes at the top that I would think it's pretty difficult to do your job and have people breathing down your neck, and you're responsible for it. So yeah. So I don't know. Tulsi Gabbard kind of like was saying stuff, and then Scott Psyche was saying things about Sarah Park and her interfering with Dr. Robertson doing her job. So I don't know. I mean, So anyway, now the deputy director, who probably has a lot of things to do because the director is leaving, right? Now she has to oversee this contact tracing effort. So there's 212 contact tracers statewide. And then on top of that, oh, here we go. On top of that, the city and county of Honolulu said they're gonna start doing their own contact tracing effort. So that's really A, it's not efficient. It's not and B, like are they gonna call the same people? Like are you if you are associated with somebody who gets tested positive, are you gonna get called by two people from two different contact tracing programs? And like, what kind of questions are they going to ask you? Are they going to ask you the same exact questions? So that's kind of silly, right? And then like they're going to have to, what does this mean? Like they're going to tee up a contact tracing effort. Staffed by hundreds more. They're going to hire hundreds of people to do the exact same thing that these 212 DOH people are doing. And then like, where are they going to be put? And then like, what kind of system, like, right? Where are they going to put the information? Like, where are they going to put the data? Or are they just going to like do it on paper? There's just, yeah, it's just kind of silly if you think about it. So everybody's kind of running around, it seems like, from the health department's perspective, it seems like everybody's just running around like chickens without heads, right? And nobody has a clue like what to do. But they know they got to do something. But it's not giving me any confidence that things are going to be done right. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. Another thing that was kind of interesting too was the H3 freeway. Like the state apparently just decided to use the freeway, right? And I think I talked about this yesterday too. And the federal government, which, you know, the interstate highway system is a federal highway system. So you need to get permission, right? Like the whole thing with the freeways, like it was developed to transport military equipment and personnel across state lines, right, across the country quickly. So, and that's why like when the president comes over here, they can shut down the entire freeway, like both sides. Like they have that ability because it's their road, right? So they were like, whoa, what are you guys doing? You guys are shutting down the entire H3 freeway, and like we didn't give you guys permission to do that. And I can understand that, like if there's an emergency, like emergency vehicles need to be able to, get to their destination quickly, and that was the whole point of the H3. The other thing too is like there's military bases, right? Like the H3 goes to the Marine Corps base, and it connects it to like Pearl Harbor, right? It goes H3 connects. So it's just weird, like the state just decided to do that. And what makes it worse was, and I just heard this today, like they jeopardized by this decision $180 something million of Department of Transportation funding. So I don't know. Again, it's like people like running around without a head on, like chicken without the head. Like people are just doing things without like thinking about it, and you're jeopardizing like $180 million of federal funding to do this. And I mean, to me, it was great. It worked. It's very smooth and stuff. But again, like when I went, there wasn't anybody there. So I don't know how you can justify shutting down the freeway for that amount of time. Maybe there were other ways to do it. But again, like a decision was made quickly, and I don't know. It's just I don't know if it's worth it to jeopardize federal transportation funding when you can do this another way. Um, I don't know what the numbers are of the total people that got tested on the H3. That hasn't been released yet, not that I've seen. So I don't know if that's worth it. I mean, as compared to what they did at Leeward Community College and some of the other local testing sites for their surge testing. And then again, you're looking at the number of people that were there, the 300 something people that were there to administer the tests and stuff. So it's like, it seems that was kind of interesting to me too. So, but at least it's doing something. Again, like I just want to get a more accurate count of the population that's COVID positive. So that's something that we have no idea, right? And that helps to create policy, like like effective policy, not just shut down, open up, right? It's just right now we're just arbitrarily just doing things without really knowing why we're doing it. So anyway, and then so this is another article that I kind of just was reading. I kind of get the same feeling, but again, I'm not like a numbers guy. I'm not a researcher. I'm not a statistical analysis kind of person. But it does seem kind of weird, like when the numbers come out and they don't make sense to me. Like I would think if you have accurate counts, you can present it to the public in a way that we can understand, and they're not doing that. So apparently I don't feel so bad because actual researchers are also confused with the numbers, right? They're saying like data that doesn't match, moving averages that don't make sense, and the state's reporting of COVID-19 is confusing even for scholars analyzing the information. So that makes me feel good. Like I'm not just scratching my head because I'm stupid, which that's debatable, but the scholars are scratching their head too, and for the same reasons I am. So anyway, so it says, all people are getting confused. Instead of giving a clear, simple picture, this is how the epidemic is playing out in Hawaii. And I think that's the main thing. That's the main concern I have with the contact tracing, is like we're putting all this effort and energy into contact tracing, but the information that we're getting is not satisfying to me. Like we need to know, like, where are these things spreading? Where's the positive cases originating and where it's spreading? And that means like you're gonna have to tell us, like, if there's a business, if there's a shopping center, if there's a gym, if there's a restaurant, if there's something, a place, even if it's a park or a hiking trail or a beach or something, and they know that cases are developing there, like, they need to let us know, right? And instead of just giving us these broad, just hey, look, there's some pictures of big gatherings on the beach, or they were showing the picture of the rock in Waimea, right, where people are jumping off the rock. They were like piling on the rock, which they do all the time. And they made it seem like that was the cause of the spike of the virus. Well, I don't know that. I mean, they never told us how many people got infected by going to the beach or jumping off the rock or being under tents in the park or on the beach. I don't know. They just never said that to us. They never told us what those numbers are. And you can't just tell us, oh, because we see people congregating that's where it's spreading. Right? You guys are doing contact tracing. You guys need to let us know, like, where are these things happening and how is it spreading? So this stuff makes sense to me. Like the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency reported that 207,406 tests were conducted, but the State Department of Health had a conflicting report saying that 275,000 tests were performed. And that makes sense because, like people, like the people in the hospitals are getting tested all the time, right? And certain other people, depending on what their job is, are getting tested all the time. So it's kind of like in digital marketing, like for websites, if you're doing website analytics, you're looking at how many people are looking at your site. That's one number, right? The total number of views to your page. And then you have like unique views, right? So if I visit a website and I look at the same page like a couple of times during the day, I should only get counted once as a unique view, right? But if you want to know like how many times everybody was looking at that page, then you'll count me twice, right? Because I looked at it twice. So then you just need to distinguish that, and you need to make that clear. And like in web marketing, that's made clear. And some businesses are interested in unique views only, and some businesses are interested in total views. But in this case, like the reports that we're getting is kind of confusing and it's not clear. So I mean, I can understand why these, the researchers and the general public are kind of frustrated by this. And I don't know if we have the right people generating these reports. I don't know if we have the right people who understand what the numbers are. Maybe that's why they have a hard time putting these, reports together. Or maybe they just don't want us to know what the real numbers are. Maybe they're trying to paint a better picture for us or whatever. I don't know. It's just kind of, I can understand the frustration. So yeah, so good, clear information to the public is the best possible thing you can give them. Don't treat them like they won't be able to understand it. And in an emergency, right, like hurricane season, the more information they can give you, like a lot of people, that will complain about like the weather reporting and stuff, and they're hyping up the hurricane. But at the end of the day, we appreciate it, right? The more information they give us, and watching those news reports and getting all that information, that's useful for us, and it helps us to plan, and it helps us to live our life better. But if you have misinformation or lack of information, especially in an emergency, like then you have no idea what to do. And so I think that's kind of like where I'm coming from. So yeah. So anyway, like getting back on subject here with the talk today, I kind of wanted to talk about like doing our hobbies. So we're staying at home. It's day 7, staying at home, and I'm kind of going out of my mind. Not I go out to go pick up food, not just because I'm hungry, but because I want to get out of the house. But I mean, before this all happened, I had a lot of hobbies. I had a lot of activities. I mean, I just remember the days of, you know, going to bars, throwing darts, going to the bowling alleys, going to the pool halls, like nightlife type of thing, going out to eat at restaurants. and then on the weekends, going out to the beach, we go diving, fishing, kayaking, and now I'm stuck at home, right? And granted, it's only 7 days, right? But I mean, we came back from, like this is like the most restrictive, right? Before that, we had the do not gather order. So, and then they closed the beaches, and then they locked us down. So what do I do? I'm getting kind of antsy, right? And again, I'm a hobby guy. I have a lot of hobbies. I like to do a lot of things. And so I decided, hey, what can I do? So before the complete lockdown, me and a bunch of friends, we decided to take up fishing. And a lot of us had fished before, but with life and everything, we didn't do as much fishing as we did in the past when we were younger. So we decided to take up fishing again, and then introduce some of our friends who hadn't gone fishing a lot to fishing. And it was a way to social distance and be safe and enjoy the outdoors, and do something new and learn a new skill, right? A new hobby. So that's what we did. So nowadays, like if you're going to take up a new hobby and it requires you to go outdoors, one thing I would highly recommend is go to the honolulu.gov website, right? And always make sure you know exactly what the current mandates are, right? The current orders, the current rules. And again, like I'm a hunter ed instructor, so the responsibility really is on us to know. Like you can't claim ignorance at this point, right? If you're out and you're hanging out at the beach, you just can't claim ignorance. That's just not going to fly. So if you're going to pick up a new activity or a new hobby, find out what the rules are and make sure that you're allowed to do it, right? So like fishing is you're allowed to fish, but there's restrictions. So you have to fish alone now. How are they going to enforce that? I don't know. I don't know how they're going to enforce that. But you have to fish alone. It's not safe, especially if you fish at night, whatever. If you fish on a cliff, if you fish on a boat or whatever, it's, and you have to be in the water, right? You can't sit on the beach. So that's, it's probably not the safest thing. But anyway, that's what the rules are. So there's a PDF. I would put that on your phone if you are out there fishing and a police officer or DLNR enforcement officer, they should know what the rules are. But if they don't, and they ask you like, hey, what are you doing out there? I usually have the PDF on my phone, and I can tell them, like, hey, this is what's allowed. And if they tell me to leave, then I'll just still leave, right? It's like, what's the point of getting cited or whatever, and then I have to go to court or whatever. But anyway, as long as you know what the rules are, you should be in good shape. And a lot of times, if you show them what the official order is, they'll be okay with it. They're just trying to make sure everybody's safe. Because I was going fishing one day, and this was like maybe a week before the actual lockdown, and a guy saw me buying ice and stuff at the store. And then as I was loading it up in my cooler and stuff, he's like, hey, are you going to go fishing? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go fishing. He was like, oh, man, you can't go fishing. We went out to, Moana Bay, and then they got chased out by the cops. And I was like, oh, well, you're allowed to go fishing. But if you're like hanging out, on the beach or on the bay, yeah, that's not allowed. So you have to be in the act of actually fishing, right? So you just have to know what the rules are. Download the rules, keep it on you, and then you can go out and enjoy yourself without without the stress of thinking like you're going to get cited or arrested. So, and when you're not out fishing, and this is something that I had to brush up on, I watch a lot of YouTube, right? Because there's a lot of things like, how to set up your rigs, how do you tie your knots, like where do people go fishing, what areas hold what kind of fish, how like cooking recipes and stuff. So I this is something that you can do too before you actually do something new, is go ahead and research it. And the great thing is you can still access the internet, and there's a lot of resources online. And like one of the YouTube channels I like to watch is Keiki Fishing. I think they have a show on OC16 too, so that's kind of cool. But
Hello, welcome to Keiki Fish Adventures. I'm your host Shane Patrick, and today
I don't know if I'm gonna have trouble showing this on the stream, but
so they can show you what to look for.
it's kind of cool. It's kind of a how-to, and it's made for kids.
So here's our raft. We're going top of the reefs with these. Our boat is too big for it, so we're going to be using this. I'm going to show you how to set it up.
I don't know if they're like this might be Moanalua Bay area.
We got this inflatable so that we could go cruising on the shallow reefs.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of cool, right? And they have a whole bunch of videos on their channel. So I kind of, that's kind of things I like to watch. Real Adventures Hawaii is another one. I don't have a boat, but if I had a boat, I'd probably do what this guy does. He catches like good stuff, and it's just fun to watch him go out there with his friends and catch fish. He'll like show you how to like fillet it, which is kind of cool, right? So yeah.
First thing I wanted to
I mean, there's channels everywhere for almost any activity, and there might be something that you didn't know you'd enjoy, but as you're kind of browsing around, looking around for hobbies, there's stuff here. And the good thing is they'll actually talk about, because like this guy, I think he's in the East Coast. So some of these are not Hawaii based, but they've been in places that have been locked down. So they kind of talk about like how do you go about doing your hobby in lockdown, right? So that can kind of give you more tips on how to prepare for, pursuing your hobby during a pandemic. So this is kind of cool. So this guy and his girlfriend or fiance goes out fishing. He also like tests like funky stuff from like crappy websites that he buys, like weird stuff, and he tests them out. So it's kind of a different type of fishing, not serious fishing, but it's just still part of your fishing hobby. So I kind of find this interesting too. So the other thing that I've kind of picked up, I've done it a little bit in the past, but with work and life and everything, I kind of stopped doing it. But now I'm getting more back into it, and part of it is because there's no sports, right? And that's the rough thing. Like, I can't. I don't know what I'm gonna do if something happens to the NFL. I'm gonna be very disappointed. It's bad enough. Like college football is minimal. I love watching football. I think it's a great pastime sport, great entertainment. But yeah, with everything that's going on, it can happen. It may not happen. I don't know. But one thing for sure is online gaming has really taken off. And to me personally, watching other people play video games is very similar to me like watching other people play sports. And there's different types of video games. The kind of games that I like to watch are where people play other people. So you're not like, it's not like you're just in a game and you're shooting. It's not like you're controlling Mario and Donkey Kong is just the computer, right? You're playing against the computer. A lot of games are um, people playing against other people, and a lot of times it's team sports, right? Um, so again, I've streamed this before, like PUBG, Player Unknown Battlegrounds. That's one of the games I like to play. I like to watch other people play it, and there's some really good streamers. Again, it's entertainment, so they're not necessarily professional players, but they're still good, and they try to generate entertaining content while they're playing their games. So that's what I enjoy about it. The other thing, like with this guy Wacky Jackie, I think he's in, I don't know if he's in Denmark or he's up in Europe somewhere. I don't know what country exactly. He speaks English, very good English, better than my English, but he does a lot of analysis, strategies, and other things while he's playing the game too. So it's kind of like watching like the NBA and having the sport analysts describe to you what's going on or explaining to you what happens. So these guys are kind of doing the same thing, some of these streamers. And some streamers are good, some streamers are bad, or terrible, but this guy I think is one of the more informative and entertaining streamers. And the other fun thing too is he interacts. A lot of streamers interact with their community, so they have these followers. Like he has 605,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, but he streams live on Twitch, and he has like a whole bunch of people that follow him while he's playing, and they actually interact with him in his chat. So he's constantly talking to the people in the chat. Another big streamer that I like is Dr. Disrespect, and that's because I'm a product of the 80s. And so this guy, he's a character. And so he wears a wig, right? Kind of like reminds me of like Bulaia. But he's kind of like a Stephen Colbert of, or not Stephen Colbert, but like the Colbert Report version of Stephen Colbert, video game player. So he's kind of obnoxious and full of himself and stuff like that. But very, very entertaining. He probably has one of the best production for video game streamers out there. I don't know. They've been
Ladies and gentlemen, the arena's wide open, and we're starting today's broadcast off with a $300 million charity tournament in a cute, friendly, fluffy, blobby game they call Fall Guys. We got to rack up as many wins as possible and become the numero uno team in the tournament. We're talking about Mr. Violence, speed, and momentum, Alex. Like, proximity chat, get in your face, pump shotgun you. Fucking remind.
He actually plays the video game. I don't.
Oh! Easy run, man. Easy run.
This is not the type of game.
Boom! Let's go! Let's get this big W. I want to see it back to back to back from the two-time. I think once this starts trickling, the waterfall begins. And I'm talking like a deep Costa Rican dense jungle waterfall.
So anyway, so again, this is entertainment. He's not really a competitive player. Like, he's not a professional video gamer. He's more of an entertainment person. So his production is really good. And he plays various different games. This Fall Guys is kind of a kid's game. But again, all of these characters are all other players. So you're playing with all these other players. So it is competitive to a degree, and basically, all of the games that he plays are kind of like that. So it's competitive against other players. So that's a hobby that I like to do, and part of me playing video games is me also watching other people play video games. It's kind of like fishing, right? I watch other people go fishing. That's because it's interesting to me. So the other one is Shroud. Shroud's probably one of the most famous video game streamers. He's an ex Counter-Strike player, professional player, and he made the move to go full-time streaming just to do entertainment streaming. But he's still, again, he was an ex-professional, so he's like super good. And he's also very, very good with his community.
Action?
He's constantly talking.
I don't know if you
can
guys
see
know,
on
but
the screen,
DayZ
like,
is the
that's his
game.
chat.
The
That's
very first
constantly
game
like
that I
people
ever
posting
streamed.
stuff, and he's
Changed my
he's
title to
talking to
Runnings.
them.
Pretty sure the barracks are up here.
So I think.
Why are you saying it like that? Barracks?
I think in this kind of a time, it's good to, have hobbies. Like if you're just watching the news, sitting at home watching the news, that's probably not a good thing, because again, like the news is not providing us with any like meaning in life right now. In my opinion, I'm not getting any meaning from watching the news. A lot of the news stuff, it seems to be very hyper political, hyper divisive, very nonsensical. And I see a lot of people posting that kind of stuff on social media, and I'm like, when I see that, I'm guilty of it. But like when I see that, I'm like, okay, you guys need to get a hobby. So I think, like finding other activities. I know a lot of our lives have been kind of turned upside down because of the COVID thing. But there are still a lot of things that we can do and still be social, right? I mean, especially with the internet, you can still do a lot of activities and be social about it. The great thing is with like Facebook, a lot of the social medias, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you can still share your activities and your experiences with friends, families, and other people who have similar interests. And that's what I would recommend to people. That's something that I find I do that a lot. Whether there's COVID or not, trying to find people who have the same interests, and they don't necessarily need to be in Hawaii. They could be in other places. So, for example, like I recently just picked up a 3D printer because I wanted to like print, my own things. And so, a lot of these printers, a lot of these print companies have their own groups of people. So you can get help setting up the printer. If you're having problems with the printer, you can post it to the group, and then people in the group kind of help you, right? And it's pretty hilarious. I'm kind of geeky about this, but it's kind of hilarious. There's like 3D printing is not simple. It's definitely a garage type activity. You really have to put the time into, because you have to build the printer. Like you don't get it out of a box and just plug it in and it's ready to go. You have to actually assemble it. And so a lot of people, their first print is really, really terrible. And if they didn't assemble the printer correctly, it's very frustrating, and it's super funny to me when I mean, for as many like brag photos that people create that come out awesome, right? There's just a bunch of them that are just horrible. Like people are just having a lot of problems. Like this guy, look at this guy. He can't figure out why his thing is loose, right? And like this guy, he's got weird noises coming out of his printer. He's like, why is it, why is this happening? And a lot of people will modify their printer, and then, the printer will stop working right. I've done that myself, and I had to go, jump on here and get help from other people. And those people are all over the world, but they have the same interests with, as you, and they are more than happy to help you out. So I think that's great. And it could be like cooking, it could be sewing, it could be, gardening, it could be, hunting, fishing, hiking, working on your car, home improvement projects. There's so many groups online for you to get help, and I know that's one of the hard things picking up a new hobby, is finding people to do it with. And it's hard to start something new without guidance and having someone to mentor you. And the good thing is, with the internet and like with live streaming or with Zoom conference calls, you can actually do that remotely. So I think keeping an open mind, and instead of focusing on what you can't do, being open to learning new ways of doing things and trying new things, it can really fill that void that a lot of people have in their life right now, with with their life being shrunken to activities that you can do just in your house. And it doesn't need to be that way. There's, the internet is, the one good thing about this whole thing is it happened during a time when we have the internet. We have systems out there, that we have social media, we have video streaming, we have a variety of ways to connect with other people, and and learn and share and teach and mentor. And you want to learn a new language, there's lots of courses where you can learn a new language. You want to learn how to program, you want to learn how to do art. Oh, there's some great art channels on YouTube. It's a lot of things. Sometimes I'll just like watch, like, I don't know, like Chinese or Japanese videos on YouTube on like weird things that they do there. And it kind of gets me thinking, like, oh, maybe that's something that I could do, not as weird, but something that I could do locally here. Maybe I won't run around and do flips off of a tightrope, but maybe I'll take up like unicycling, which is what I did. And again, like, a lot of these companies are in China, right? There's not many American companies that make these things. But I mean, look at that, so I have 2 unicycles, and this is like fun as heck. Trail riding, road riding. I've eaten it. I've fallen and crashed, but it's a great mode of transportation, and it's just fun as heck. So how do I get out of here? Okay. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, guys, I just stay positive and keep your mind open to trying new things, and hopefully one day, which I can't foresee right now. I don't have the ability to predict when all of this will happen. But one day, hopefully, we'll be able to go back out in the real world and interact with each other, and we can reestablish our social lives. But in the meanwhile, there's still a lot of personal growth and personal development that we can do um, during this lockdown, and just do it, or else you go crazy. So anyway, that'll be it for tonight. It's been an hour. Jeez. I'll be back on tomorrow night, and hopefully the numbers will go down, because I want them to lift this lockdown as soon as possible. At least let us go to the beach, for crying out loud, right? Let us go to the beach. Let us fish. Let us hike. Let us do some outdoor activities. I think they kind of did tests and stuff, and they proved like being outdoors is like the safest place to be, right? I'll be happy to just go out and go fishing and get sunburned. That'll make me happy. Anyway, guys, stay safe, and yeah, go get tested tomorrow, H3, and that'll be it for tonight. Good night.